ഹലോ ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, ഇന്ന് ഉച്ചയ്ക്കാണ് നമ്മുടെ ക്ലാസിക്സ് ഓഫ് വേൾഡ് ലിറ്ററേച്ചറിൻ്റെ എക്സാം നടക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് മുന്നിൽ ഇനി ഒട്ടും സമയമില്ല. ഈ വീഡിയോയിലൂടെ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നത് ഒരു ക്വിക്ക് റിവിഷനാണ്. പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട പാഠഭാഗങ്ങളിലൂടെ നമ്മൾ ഒന്ന് ജസ്റ്റ് കടന്നു പോവുകയാണ്. സമ്മറിയും ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സും പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ്റെ ആൻസറും ജസ്റ്റ് വായിച്ചു പോവുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും കേൾക്കുക. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്യാം. First, we discuss the play Oedipus Rex, written by Sophocles. Sophocles is one of the most famous tragedians of ancient Greece. He was not only a poet and a dramatist, but also a diplomat, a general, and even a priest, a god of healing. He wrote more than 120 plays, but only 7 complete plays survive. Of all his surviving plays, Oedipus the King is the best. Oedipus the King is the story of patricide and incest. Sophocles emphasizes the irony of a man determined to track down, expose, and punish an assassin who turns out to be himself. The king Laius of Thebes received a prophecy that his son would kill him. So Laius left the baby exposed on Mount Cithaeron, one of the remotest part of his kingdom. This was a common way to get rid of unwanted babies. As an extra protection, he nailed the baby's feet together. But the baby survived and he was brought up as a prince in the city of Corinth. He was named Oedipus, meaning swollen feet in Greek. Many years later, Oedipus met Laius on the road and killed him. At that time, Thebes was being terrorized by a monster with the head of a woman, body of a lion, and wings of an eagle called Sphinx. She would tell a riddle to all the people she met. This was the riddle. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and 3 legs in the evening? Men who answered the riddle wrongly were devoured by her. Oedipus answered the riddle. Man. Man crawls on 4 as a baby, walks on 2 legs as an adult, and leans on a walking stick in his old age. The Sphinx threw herself from the cliff, and Oedipus was crowned as king of Thebes. Oedipus married the recently widowed queen Jocasta. He did not know that he had killed his father and married his own mother. Other main characters are Tiresias, a blind prophet, oracle of Delphi, Creon, brother of Jocasta, a messenger from Corinth, a shepherd. ഈ പാഠഭാഗത്തിൽ ഓർത്തിരിക്കേണ്ട പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട മറ്റു പോയിന്റുകളാണ്. നമ്മുടെ ഏതൻസ് നഗരത്തിൽ പ്ലേഗ് പടർന്നു പിടിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അതിൻ്റെ കാരണം ദൈവങ്ങൾ കോപിച്ചതാണ്. ഈഡിപ്പസ് അറിയാതെ ചെയ്ത തെറ്റാണെങ്കിലും അവന് അച്ഛനെ കൊന്ന് അമ്മയെ വിവാഹം കഴിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഒരു കൊലപാതകവും നിഷിദ്ധ സംഘവും നടന്നിട്ടുണ്ട് എന്നാണ് ഒറാക്കിൾ ഓഫ് ഡെൽഫി, അതായത് ഒരു പ്രവാചകയാണ് അവൾ പറയുന്നത്. ആരോടാണ് പറയുന്നത്? ക്രിയോണിനോടാണ് പറയുന്നത്, ബ്രദർ ഓഫ് ജൊക്കാസ്റ്റ. അദ്ദേഹത്തെ വിടുകയാണ്. എന്താണ് ഈ തീബ്സിൽ ഇങ്ങനെ വിട്ടുമാറാത്ത പ്ലേഗിന് കാരണമെന്ന് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് പോയതാണ്. അപ്പം ഈ ഹീനകൃത്യം ചെയ്ത കുറ്റവാളിയെ കണ്ടുപിടിച്ച് ശിക്ഷിക്കുന്നത് വരെ ഏതൻസിൽ ഈ ദുരന്തം തുടർന്നുകൊണ്ടേയിരിക്കുമെന്നാണ് ഒറാക്കിൾ ഓഫ് ഡെൽഫി പറഞ്ഞത്. ഇനി ഒറാക്കിൾ ഓഫ് ഡെൽഫി ആരാന്ന് നമുക്ക് നോക്കാം. ഇൻ ഈഡിപ്പസ് റെക്സ്, ദ ഡെൽഫിക് ഒറാക്കിൾ സെറ്റ്സ് ദ പ്ലോട്ട് ഇൻ മോഷൻ. Creon brings the news that the sufferings of the Theban people will be relieved only if the murderer of the late king Laius is traced and expelled from the city or put to death. Oedipus immediately announces his resolve to obey the oracle. Thus, it is evident that everybody concerned has full faith in the words of the Delphic oracle. The message of the Delphic oracle is the motivating force behind Oedipus' undertaking to find out and punish the criminal. The undertaking which is the main substance of the play. മറ്റൊരു പ്രധാനപ്പെട്ട ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ്, വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻ ടു ജൊക്കാസ്റ്റ ആഫ്റ്റർ ഡിസ്കവറിംഗ് ദ ട്രൂത്ത്? Jocasta was overcome with shame and regret at knowing that she married her own son, who had also killed his father. Overcome with uncontrollable grief and guilt, she committed suicide. This is the role of the chorus in Oedipus Rex. Greek tragedy grew out of the performances of lyric poetry sung by choruses. So it is natural that the chorus should remain a part of Greek tragedy. A chorus in the Greek tragedy usually has 14 men. In Oedipus the king, they are old men of Thebes. The word chorus in Greek means dance. The main function of the chorus was to sing and dance lyric odes in between dramatic episodes. These odes comment on the previous episode. The chorus could also act a character, the leader speaking lines of dialogue, interacting with other characters on stage. They react as their characters should. In Oedipus Rex, although the chorus is concerned about the personal problem of Oedipus, it is more concerned about the fate of the city and finding a cure for the plague. Discuss the theme of sight and blindness in Oedipus. In Oedipus Rex, the theme of sight and blindness is revealed through Oedipus' metaphorical and literal blindness. At the beginning of the play, Oedipus can physically see, but is blind to the reality of his past. That is why he kills his father and marries his mother. At the end of the play, he is so ashamed of the truth of his past that he physically blinds himself. Ironically, Tiresias is physically blind, but he is the only character who can see the truth. Oedipus is blind to Jocasta's warning. Jocasta wants Oedipus to forget his past and not to keep digging for it. But he was blind to her advice. He soon finds out about his past. When Jocasta realized she is the mother of her present husband, she is shocked. She then commits suicide. When Oedipus sees the truth, he is so much overcome by the sense of shame, he blinds himself. Important question is, how does Oedipus' tragic flow lead to his downfall? In Oedipus Rex, Oedipus' tragic flow is his hubris. In Greek tragedy, hubris means excessive pride or the inescapable agent of someone's downfall. This hubris of Oedipus leads to his downfall by influencing him to deny the will of the gods and attempt to alter his destiny by fleeing Corinth. It is his hubris that prevents him from accepting the advice of Jocasta, who asked him to let bygones be bygones and not to dig to find out his past. ലെറ്റ് ബൈഗോൺസ് ബി ബൈഗോൺസ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഭൂതകാലങ്ങൾ പഴയതായിരിക്കട്ടെ. Again, his hubris prevents him from acknowledging Tiresias' truthful message and recognizing that he is Laius' murderer. After accepting the truth and realizing that the prophecy was fulfilled, Oedipus blinds himself and goes into exile. Prophecy means പ്രവചനം. essay question ആണ്. ക്യാരക്ടർ ഈസ് ഡെസ്റ്റിനി എന്ന പഴമൊഴി ഈഡിപ്പസ് റെക്സിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം എത്രമാത്രം ശരിയാണ്? ടു വാട്ട് എക്സ്റ്റെൻറ്റ് ക്യാൻ ദ ഡിക്റ്റം ക്യാരക്ടർ ഈസ് ഡെസ്റ്റിനി ബി അപ്ലൈഡ് ടു ഈഡിപ്പസ് റെക്സ്? ജസ്റ്റിഫൈ യുവർ ആൻസർ. Dictum character is destiny is very much true in the case of Oedipus Rex. If the character of Oedipus had been different, the tragedy could have been averted. The character of Oedipus was cut out for tragedy right from the beginning of his life, and it continues to pester him till the end when he blinds himself and goes into exile. King Laius of Thebes received a prophecy that his son would kill him. So Laius left the baby exposed on Mount Cithaeron, one of the remotest part of his kingdom. As an extra protection, he nailed the baby's feet together. But the baby survived and he was brought up as a prince in the city of Corinth. He was named Oedipus, meaning swollen feet in Greek. Many years later, Oedipus met Laius on the road and killed him. Oedipus wanted to go away from Corinth so that the prophecy about him may not be fulfilled. But he picks up a quarrel with his father who was going to Delphi and kills him, not knowing he was killing his own father. The hubris of Oedipus plays its part here. Then he answers the Sphinx riddle and saves the city of Thebes from this monster. The people then make him uh, king, and he marries Jocasta, whose husband Laius was killed. Oedipus does not know he was marrying his own mother. Then gods are angry because of the patricide and incest. They send a plague to punish the city. People come to Oedipus to find a solution for the plague. He sends his brother-in-law Creon to meet the oracle at Delphi. He comes with the news that the murderer of the king Laius should be punished, and then only the plague will go. Oedipus is serious in tracking down the murderer. He brings the blind prophet Tiresias, who tells him Oedipus himself was Laius' murderer. But Oedipus dismisses it as a joke. Jocasta also tells Oedipus not to worry about the past, but here again the hubris of Oedipus is at work, and he continues with his investigation. Finally, when the truth is out, Jocasta commits suicide, and Oedipus makes himself blind as he does not want to see the calamity he has brought to everyone, and then he goes into exile. Character is certainly destiny. Important short story ആണ് മദർ സാവേജ്. ഗേഡി മോപ്പസാൻ ആണ് ഇത് എഴുതിയത്. Guy Maupassant was a French author noted for his mastery of the short story form. He was a naturalistic writer. Such writers write story based on the idea that environment determines and governs human character. His stories depicted the lives and destinies of human beings and other social forces in pessimistic tone. The short story Mother Savage by Guy de Maupassant very powerfully depicts the theme of cruelty. The Franco-Prussian War is going on. Mother Savage's only son has gone to fight the war against the Prussians. But in her house, Mother Savage lodges 4 Prussian soldiers. At first, we see the 4 soldiers are treated kindly by Mother Savage. The soldiers also conduct themselves in the house of Mother Savage as if they are her sons. They clean the kitchen, rub the tiles, split wood, peel potatoes, and do all the housework as if they were the sons of Mother Savage. But there is a complete change in her when she hears about the death of her son Victor. She then very brutally burns the 4 Prussian soldiers alive. Then the Prussian soldiers retaliate by cutting her into pieces with bullets. The title Mother Savage for the short story is very appropriate or quite apt. Savage is a French word which means savage in English. Savage means wild, fierce, violent, and uncontrolled. Mother and savage are 2 words that dance together. A mother signifies love, affection, loyalty, and sacrifice. Savage is the opposite of all these, but the mother in the story embodies both motherly and savage features. It is her love, affection, loyalty, and sacrificial spirit for her son that makes her burn the 4 Prussian soldiers lodging in her house. Then she makes the ultimate sacrifice by confessing to the Prussian commander that she is the one who burned his soldiers. They cut her into 2 by a shower of bullets. She combines motherhood and savagery in her. എങ്ങനെയാണ് സർവാലിൻ്റെ നാട്ടിൻപുറത്തുള്ള വലിയ ഗൃഹം നശിപ്പിക്കപ്പെട്ടത്? സർവാൽസ് statue was destroyed by way of revenge by the Germans because Mother Savage had burned 4 Prussian soldiers to death. The statue was near her house. നെക്സ്റ്റ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ്, മദർ സാവേജ് ആണുങ്ങളെപ്പോലെ ആയിരുന്നു. മദർ സാവേജ് വാസ് ഓഫ് ദ സെയിം സ്ട്രെയിൻ ആസ് ദ മെൻ ഫോക്ക്. അതിന് കാരണം, അങ്ങനെ പറയാനുള്ള കാരണം, ഇറ്റ് വാസ് സെഡ് ദാറ്റ് മദർ സാവേജ് വാസ് ദ സെയിം സ്ട്രെയിൻ ആസ് ദ മെൻ ഫോക്ക് ബിക്കോസ് ഷീ വാസ് ഹാർഡ്ലി tall and thin and not afraid. She seldom laughed and no one ever jested with her. Jested means tamashin. What comment does the narrator make about the peasant woman living in the countryside? The peasant woman in the countryside in their light gauzy dresses live an unsatisfied desire which is not forgotten. It is a feeling that one has just passed by happiness. It simply means they were beautiful and their sight made the narrator happy. Next question. Why does the author say that the peasantry has no patriotic hatred? എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് എഴുത്തുകാരൻ പറയുന്നത് കർഷകർ ദേശസ്നേഹം മൂലമുള്ള എതിരാളികളോടുള്ള വെറുപ്പിന് അതീതമായിരുന്നു എന്ന്? The author says that the peasantry has no patriotic hatred because they were poor and they did not mind who ruled them. But the upper class was very patriotic and they hated their enemies. In the story, we see Mother Savage lodging 4 Prussian soldiers who are actually fighting against her country. Why could not Mother Savage eat the rabbit cooked by the Prussian soldiers? Mother Savage could not eat the rabbit cooked by the Prussian soldiers because when she skinned the rabbit, the blood that was coming out and coagulating made her tremble from head to foot. She thought of her son Victor, who was also cut into by the shell and bleeding. How is Mother Savage punished by the Prussians? Mother Savage was punished by the Prussians by shooting her to death. 12 men shoot her after throwing her against the wall. She was almost cut into 2 by the bullets. Important പാഠമാണ്. 3 questions. ലിയോ ടോൾസ്റ്റോയ് ആണ് എഴുതിയത്. ലിയോ ടോൾസ്റ്റോയ് was born in 1828 in Russia. He lost his parents in early childhood. He was brought up by his relatives and educated at home by French and German tutors. Tolstoy emerges as a religious and moral teacher. His aim was to discover the truth of life and the meaning of human relations. His writings are therefore filled with the questions and a search for answers. His short story, 3 Questions, can be regarded as a moral and philosophical tale that underlines the importance of man's action and relations with his fellow beings. There is a king who has a belief that people who could find the answers to 3 questions would always succeed. These 3 questions are: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? The king offered a huge sum of money as a reward to anyone who could come up with the answers. He received several kinds of answers, but none of these answers satisfies him. So he goes to a hermit. There he helps him dig the ground. A bearded man comes with a wound in the stomach. The king bandages the wound. Then the bearded man tells the king actually he had come to kill him. Now he seeks the king's forgiveness and the king forgives him. Now the hermit shows the king how he has got the answers which he was seeking. There is only one important time, now. It is the most important time because it is the only time when we have any power. The most necessary man is he with whom you are. The most necessary man is he with whom you are. For nobody knows whether he will ever have dealings with anyone else. And the most important affair is to do him good, because for the purpose alone was man sent into this life. ഒരു important question ആണ്. How do the learned man respond to the king's doubt? The learned man respond to the king's doubt in different ways. To the first question, some wise men said that making a timetable so that things can be done at the right time would be good. Others said that it was impossible to decide beforehand the right time for every action, and so not to waste time in idle pastimes and look carefully at what is going on and then do what was the most needful. Some others suggested having a council of wise men decide everything. Still others said that some works need urgent attention and they can't wait for the decision of a council. So to know the right time for every action, one must consult magicians. To the second question also there were different answers. Some wise men said that the king needed counselors, some said priests, some insisted on doctors, and others on soldiers. The third question also elicited different answers. Some said science, some said skill in warfare, but for some it was religious worship. Next question, adventures of the king at the hermit's place. സന്യാസിയുടെ സ്ഥലത്ത് രാജാവിനുണ്ടായ അനുഭവങ്ങൾ. The king wore simple clothes and left behind his horse and bodyguards. The hermit lived in a hut in a forest. When the king came, the hermit was digging the ground. He was frail and weak. The king went to him and asked the 3 questions. The hermit heard the king, but he did not give any reply. He spat on his hand and continued digging. The king then said that the hermit was tired and so he would help with the digging. The hermit gave the spade to the king after thanking him and sat on the ground. After digging for some time, the king repeated the questions, but the hermit did not answer. He got up and asked the king to return the spade to him. He wanted the king to rest, but the king did not return the spade and continued digging. One hour passed and another. The sun was setting. The king at last stuck the spade into the ground and told the hermit that he had come to him to get answers to his question. If he can't answer them, tell him so that he can return home. Then they see somebody coming running. It was a bearded man. He held his hands pressed against his stomach. Blood was flowing from under them. When he reached the king, he fainted, moaning feebly. On examining the king and the hermit found a large wound in the man's stomach. The king washed it and bandaged it with his handkerchief and a towel of the hermit, but the blood would not stop. The king again and again removed the bandage, washed the wound and rebandaged it. Then the bleeding finally stopped. How does the hermit answer the king's question? This is how the hermit answers the king's question. He said, if you had not pitied me and went back, that bearded man would have attacked you. So the most important time was when the king was digging the beds. I was the most important man, and to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when that man ran to us, the important time was when you were attending to him. If you had not bandaged his wound, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man. What you did for him was your most important business. Remember, there is only one important time now. It is the most important time because it is the only time when we have any power. The most necessary man is he. The most necessary man is he with whom you are, for nobody knows whether he will ever have dealing with anyone else, and the most important affair is to do him good, because for that purpose alone was man sent into this life. And lesson is Rustam and Sohrab, written by Firdausi. Firdausi was a Persian poet. He came from a rich family and so he had a sound education in philosophy, astronomy, poetry, and astrology. He is one of the greatest Persian poets and a national hero. Firdausi immortalized Rustam, the hero of Iranian mythology, in his epic poem. Rustam's parents were Zal, the Iranian king, and Rudabi, the beautiful princess of Kabul. Rustam is the most celebrated and complex character in the epic. He is equivalent to Hercules in trials of strength. He is shown as an embodiment of magnanimity, heroism, and loyalty to the Persian throne. Sohrab is the son of Rustam and Taumina, the daughter of the king of Samangan, a neighboring country which Rustam visits for a short period. Since Rustam returns to his country before Taumina gives birth to Sohrab, he does not know he has a son from Taumina. Sohrab grows up into a strong and heroic youth. He then goes to the neighboring province of Iran in search of his father. He goes with an army of Turks to dethrone the ruler Kaikous and substitute him with his father Rustam. Father and son meet in a battle not knowing each other. The father wounds the son fatally. Rustam realizes that Sohrab is his son when he shows him an onyx he had gifted to Taumina years ago. Rustam is heartbroken. He can't save his son. The tragedy of Sohrab and Rustam is adapted into different poems, films, and opera. Rustam lived in Sistan, Iran. He is a hero and one of the favorites of King Kaikous. Once following the traces of his lost horse Rakush, he enters the kingdom of Samangan, where he becomes the guest of the king during the search of his horse Rakush. There, Rustam meets Princess Taumina. She admires Rustam and knows of his reputation. She goes into his room at night and asks if he will give her a child, and in return she will bring his horse. She tells him that she had heard that he does not fear demonic creature, lion, leopard, or crocodile. He strikes quickly and he came alone into Macedon. He killed and ate wild ass. The earth trembles under his feet and men die at his blows. Even the eagle does not come down when it sees his sword. Rustam leaves after he makes Taumina pregnant. His horse is returned. Before he leaves, he takes out from his arm an onyx and gives it to her. He tells her that if she gives birth to a girl, she is to place the onyx in the girl's hair so that it will shield her from evil. If she has a boy, she is to bind the onyx on the boy's arm so that he can wear it like his father. 9 months later, she delivers his child, a son, whom she later names Sohrab. Taumina tells Sohrab to keep his lineage a secret because Turan is under Afrasiab, who is an enemy of Rustam. If Afrasiab comes to know that Sohrab is the son of Rustam, he will certainly try to kill him. Moreover, if Rustam comes to know that Sohrab is his son and he has become a man of valor, he will take Sohrab away from her and it will crush her mother's heart. The brother of Taumina. He was sent to Iran so that he could point out to Sohrab who his father was. But when he went to meet Rustam to the place where he was hiding, Rustam thought he was coming to kill him and he killed him with a blow of his hand. He is a brave warrior of the Persians. Kaikous entrusted him with a letter which he should hand over to Rustam and come back without any delay. Afrasiab rejoices when he comes to know of Sohrab's plan because he knows that when he goes to Iran to fight against Kaikous, he has to face Rustam. The fight will be then between the father and the son. Since Afrasiab is Rustam's enemy, he will be happy if Sohrab kills Rustam or Rustam kills Sohrab. He sends Human and Barman with Sohrab and tells them not to let Sohrab know that Rustam is his father. Hides his identity from Sohrab when they engage in single combat because he wanted Sohrab to withdraw from the fight. By telling that he was not Rustam, he wanted to frighten Sohrab, indicating to him that somebody much more powerful than him is still waiting to fight. Meets Rustam on the second day of the combat. Sohrab asks Rustam to reveal his name as it seemed to him that he was Rustam, but Rustam denies that he is Rustam. Sohrab caught Rustam by the girdle and threw him upon the ground and knelt upon him. He drew his sword from its scabbard and was about to cut off his head. Then Rustam told Sohrab that he was ignorant of the combat rules. If a man is overthrown for the first time, he is to be given a second chance as per the laws of honor. This was the will Rustam resorted to. There is no such rule in combat. പോരാട്ടത്തിനിടയിൽ സൊഹ്റാബ് റസ്റ്റത്തിൻ്റെ അരക്കെട്ടിൽ പിടിച്ച് നിലത്തേക്ക് മലർത്തിയടിച്ചു. റസ്റ്റമിൻ്റെ മുകളിൽ മുട്ടുകുത്തിയിരുന്ന് ഉറയിൽ നിന്ന് വാളൂരി റസ്റ്റമിൻ്റെ തല വെട്ടാൻ പോകുകയായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ റസ്റ്റം പറഞ്ഞു, സൊഹ്റാബിന് പോരാട്ട നിയമങ്ങൾ അറിയില്ല എന്ന്. ഒരു എതിരാളിയെ ഒരു പ്രാവശ്യം മലർത്തിയടിച്ചാൽ അവനൊരു ചാൻസ് കൂടി നൽകണം എന്നതാണ് പോരാട്ട നിയമം. ഇതാണ് റസ്റ്റം ഉപയോഗിച്ച ചതിപ്രയോഗം. കാരണം അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പോരാട്ട നിയമമില്ല. Why does Sohrab say that his youth shall be a theme of derision among the people? എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് സൊറാബ് പറയുന്നത് ആൾക്കാർ പുച്ഛിച്ചു തള്ളുന്ന ഒരു പ്രമേയമായിരിക്കും തൻ്റെ യുവത്വമെന്ന്? Sohrab says that his youth shall be a theme of derision among the people because he had given Rustam a second chance by believing his lie about giving the fallen hero a second chance. He was fooled by Rustam. So people will say that his youth and ignorance caused his defeat. സൊറാബിൻ്റെ ജീവൻ രക്ഷിക്കാനായി എന്ത് അവസാന പരിശ്രമമാണ് റസ്റ്റം നടത്തുന്നത്? എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ആ പരിശ്രമത്തിൽ അയാൾ വിജയിക്കാതിരുന്നത്? Kaikous had a balm that was capable of healing any wound. Rustam requested Gudars to go to the Shah and entreat him to give the balm to him. But Kaikous refused to give the balm because he thought if Sohrab is healed and gets united with Rustam, he would not able to resist them. കായ്കൗസിൻ്റെ കയ്യിൽ ഏതു മുറിവും ഉണക്കുന്ന ഒരു ബാം ഉണ്ട്. റസ്റ്റം ഗുഡാർസിനെ കായ്കൗസിൻ്റെ അടുത്തേക്ക് ബാം വാങ്ങിച്ചു കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ പറഞ്ഞു വിടുന്നു. പക്ഷേ കായ്കോസ് ബാം കൊടുക്കാൻ തയ്യാറല്ല. സൊറാബും റസ്റ്റവും ഒരുമിച്ചായാൽ അവരുടെ ശക്തിയെ തനിക്ക് പ്രതിരോധിക്കാൻ പറ്റുകയില്ല എന്ന ചിന്തയാണ് ബാം കൊടുക്കാതിരിക്കാൻ കായ്കോസിനെ പ്രേരിപ്പിച്ചത്. What happens to Taumina in the end? When she heard the news of her son's death, she was beside herself with grief. She heaped black earth on her head, tore her hair, wrung her hands, and rolled on the ground in her agony. She burned the house of Sohrab and gave his gold and jewels to the poor. She continued in her distress for 1 year, and then she died, and her spirit went after her son Sohrab. തൻ്റെ പുത്രൻ്റെ മരണവാർത്ത അറിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ദുഃഖം അവളല്ലാതാക്കി. അവൾ തൻ്റെ തലയിൽ കറുത്ത മണ്ണ് വാരിയിടുകയും തലമുടി വലിച്ചു പറിക്കുകയും കൈകാലുകൾ ഇട്ട് അടിക്കുകയും വേദന കൊണ്ട് നിലത്ത് കിടന്നു ഉരുളുകയും ചെയ്തു. പടമാണ് ഇൻ എ ബാംബു ഗ്രോ ബൈ അക്കുറ്റഗാവ ടുനോസ്കെ. Akutagawa Tunosuke was the first Japanese writer to become popular in the West. His stories had macabre and gothic in them. They were based on events from Japan's past and were retelling all legends and medieval history. He was separated from his parents because of his mother's mental problems, and so he had a gloomy and friendless childhood. He read a lot Japanese stories. The elements of discontent and the macabre in his stories, macabre means krurada, were because of the trauma he himself had to face. He was in a bamboo grove centers around the violent murder of a samurai named Takehiro near a bamboo grove and the testimonies given by 7 different people about the murder. The story has been adapted several times, and now in Japan it has come to mean how truth remains evasive when different versions or views of a situation are prevalent. People who gave testimonies about the murder are woodcutter, traveling priest, policeman, old woman, Tajomoru's confession, woman in the Kiyomizu temple, and the last dead man's spirit told through a medium. Woodcutter was, "It is true I found the body. I went out as usual this morning to cut cedar, Devadaru, in the hills behind my place. The body was in a bamboo grove on the other side of the mountain, a few hundred yards off the Yamashina Post Road. On his back in his pale blue robe. He had only one swab wound in the middle of his chest. The bamboo leaves around the body were soaked in the dark red blood. The wound looked dry. A big horsefly was sucking on it so hard that it did not even notice my footsteps. I saw a length of rope by the tree next to the body. There was a comb. The weeds and the bamboo leaves were trampled down. He must have put up a fight before they killed him." The next testimony given by traveling priest was, "I'm sure I passed the man yesterday at about noon near Checkpoint Hill on the way to Yamashina. He was walking towards the checkpoint with a woman on horseback. She wore a hat. I could not see her face. Her robe has a kind of dark red outer layer. The horse was a dappled grey with a tinge of red with a clipped mane. I don't know much about horses, but it was taller than the usual ones. He had a good-sized sword. He also had a bow and about 20 arrows. How fickle is human life." Given by a policeman was, "The man I captured is the famous Bandit Tajomoru. When I caught him, he had fallen off his horse and he was moaning and groaning on a stone bridge at Awatagachi. It was last night between 6 and 9. He was wearing the same dark blue robe and carrying the same long sword which he was having when I most captured him before. He has a bow and arrows now. I am sure this fellow is the murderer. The horse is a uh, dapple grey with a touch of red, and it has clipped a mane. It must have thrown him down. The fourth testimony given by an old woman. My daughter was married to the dead man. He was a samurai. His name was Kanazawa no Takiro, and he was 26. He was a kind man. My daughter is Mazago. She is 19. Any man, but the only man she ever has known was Takiro. She is dark. She has a mole by the outside corner of her left eye. Her face is a tiny, perfect oval. The fifth testimony given by Tajomoru's confession. I killed the man, but I did not kill the woman. I don't know where the woman has gone. I will tell everything. I met the couple yesterday soon afternoon. I had a glimpse of her face as her veil was lifted by the wind. She looked a perfect woman. I decided to take her even if I had to tell the man. Killing a man is not a big thing. If you take the woman from a man, he has to die. I killed people with a sword. You people kills people with power, money and words. It is true that blood does not flow, but you have killed him. I don't know which type of killing is greater sin. If you can take the woman without killing the man, it is better. That is what I wanted to do yesterday. I could not do it in the open, so I lured them into hills. I joined them and made up a story. I told them that I have found a burial mound, and when I opened it, it was full of swords and mirrors and other things. I said I buried them in a bamboo grove on the other side of the mountain so that nobody sees it. I said I would sell them cheap to the right buyer. The man was interested. When we reached the grove, I told them the treasure was inside. Man said he would come, but the woman said she would stay out. So among the bamboos there was a clump of cedars. There I grabbed him. He had a sword, but I tied him to a tree. I stuffed his mouth with bamboo leaves. I went back to the woman and told her that her husband was suddenly taken ill. I took her hand and led her into the grove. When she saw the man tied to the tree, she took out a dagger from her breast. I managed to knock the dagger out of her hand. I then made her mine. I did not want to kill the man. The woman was on the ground crying. She grabbed my arm. She said, "Either you die or my husband dies. It is worse than death for me to have two men see my shape. I will stay with the man who is alive, whether you or he." That gave me a desire to kill him. I wanted to make her my wife. It was not just lust. I had already satisfied that. I did not want to kill him in a cowardly way. I untied him. He pulled out his sword and sprang at me. He fought well. On the 24th thrust, my sword pierced his breast. Testimony is penitent confession of a woman in the Kiyomishu temple. After the man in the dark blue robe had his way with me, he looked up at my husband and laughed at him. My husband tried to loosen the knots, but his body was only getting deeper cuts. I ran to him, but the man kicked me down. Then I saw the indescribable glint in my husband's eye. It was not anger or sorrow, but contempt for me. I fainted. When I regained my conscience, the man in blue had gone. The look of contempt and hatred was still in his eyes. I told him I wanted to die, and I wanted to him to die as well because he had seen my shame. I looked for his sword, but my dagger was still there on the ground. I told him I am taking his life, and then I also will die. He could not speak as his mouth was stuffed, but he seemed to say, "Do it." I thrust the dagger through the chest of his blue robe. When I recovered, my husband was not breathing. I untied him and cast the rope aside. I don't have the strength to tell you what happened next. I tried to stab at my throat. I threw myself in a pond at the foot of the mountain. Nothing worked. I'm still here. I'm not proud that I could not die. I'm violated by the bandit and I have killed my husband. What am I to do? Tell me. Testimony of the dead man's spirit told through a medium. After the bandit had his way with my wife, he sat there on the ground to comfort her. I was bound to the tree. I tried to signal to her with my eyes. I was trying to tell her not to listen to the words of the bandit, but she was listening to him. He was telling her, "Now you have been molested. Things will never be the same with your husband. Come and be my life. Come and be my wife." My wife told him, "Take me anywhere you like." That was not her only crime against me. Holding his hand, she was going away. Then suddenly she pointed towards me and said, "Kill him. I can't be with you when he is alive." The next thing I saw was the bandit kicking my wife and she falling down among the leaves. Then he asked me if he should kill her or leave her. I nodded my answer, "Kill her." My wife then ran into the bamboo grove and disappeared. Somehow I untied myself. My wife's dagger was still there. I picked it up and shoved it into my chest. Then everything sank into stillness. Then I heard some stealthy footsteps. Somebody pulled the dagger out of me. Once again there was darkness. Is honor as the motivating force in a bamboo grove. In a bamboo grove, we can see that honor is a motivating force. This can be seen in the behavior of Masago, her husband Takehiro, and even in the bandit Tajomoro. Masago says that she can't continue living since two men who have seen her shame are alive. She wants one of them to die and she is willing to live with the survivor. Here sentimentality has no value. Honor is the main concern. In her testimony, she says she decided to kill Takehiro and then kill herself. She stabs Takehiro and he dies. She tries to cut her throat but she fails. She jumps into a pond but there also she fails to die. She feels she has been abandoned by even Kanzeon, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Bodhisattva of compassion. We can also see honor in the action of Takehiro. He tries to attack Tajomoru when he realizes that Tajomoru was bluffing him when he brought him to the bamboo grove. But the superior power of the bandit prevails and Takehiro is tied to a tree and his mouth is stuffed with bamboo leaves. In the end, we see him untying himself and stabbing himself and dying. As a samurai, he can't continue living as he has seen his wife Masago being raped by Tajomoru before his eyes, even in the action of the Bandit Tajomoru. He could have killed Takehiro when he was bound to the tree, but Tajomoru unties him and gives a chance to Takehiro to prove his valor. Takehiro fights well. It is only in the 24th thrust Tajomoru is able to pierce Takehiro's chest with his sword. Even in the end, he shows his honor by telling the magistrate he is ready to take his punishment, which is death by be hanged. 5 important chapters: Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, Mother Savage by G.D. Maupassant, 3 Questions by Leo Tolstoy, Rustam and Sohrab by Firdausi, and In a Bamboo Grove by Akutasawa Tunosuke. ബൈ മോസ്റ്റ് ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഈ 5 പാഠഭാഗങ്ങളിലൂടെ കടന്നു പോകാൻ ഈ വീഡിയോ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഉപകാരപ്രദമാകും. അപ്പോൾ വീഡിയോ ഒക്കെ നന്നായി കണ്ട് പരീക്ഷ അടിപൊളിയായിട്ട് എഴുതുക. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഓൾ ദി ബെസ്റ്റ്. താങ്ക് യു ഫോർ വാച്ചിങ്.